Money Radio, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure to welcome Laura Bramnick from TalkRealEstateAZ.com. Hi, Laura.
Sinclair, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Laura is an attorney. She's a consumer advocate. She's a real estate agent. She can help put together your residential or commercial or land transactions and help you develop a concrete plan. Laura holds an active Arizona real estate license. She's been a real estate investor. She is a certified instructor with the Arizona Department of Real Estate and licensed by the State Bar of Arizona, specializing in real estate. For more information, the website TalkRealEstateAZ.com, TalkRealEstateAZ.com, and the phone number 480-624-2705, and Laura does answer her phone, 480-624-2705. Laura, right before we went to air here, you said that there's something happening around the valley now where people are trying to buy property, or property is being sold to them without a written contract.
Yeah, I am actually surprised how often I see this because
I'm shocked by that.
you know, real estate's a big investment.
Yes.
And the Arizona law requires that if you purchase real estate or have any interest in real estate, that it be in writing. Now, I realize that people aren't lawyers and they may be naive about certain things, but you would think that it's just common sense. But, you know, a lot of people get caught up in a scam. They may be elderly, they may be naive, they may not speak English, they may be uneducated, they may not purchased real estate before, or maybe they have purchased, you know, maybe they've had a relationship with someone where they've actually purchased property before and it's been successful, but then one time it goes bad, you know.
Right. I find it rather shocking. Give me an idea of how something like this could transpire.
Yeah, it looks like there's a couple scams going around. One of them is that somebody will buy a property in a short sale, especially maybe a lower priced property, you know, where the lender knows that it may be difficult if they get it back to sell it, maybe in a bad area or maybe needs a lot of work, that kind of thing.
Right.
And so there are companies, usually it's not an individual, usually that individual set up an LLC, so they don't have any personal liability. And they are savvy about purchasing the short sale and going through that process. And then when they get title to the property, they turn around and they may sell it to someone that's a family member of the person of the short sale seller. You know, the borrower on the loan who had to sell it short. And because a lot of those people, you know, they don't want to move, and maybe their property's underwater, or they've gotten in some other kind of financial trouble and they couldn't pay the mortgage.
And they don't understand the short sale process to begin with.
Yeah, so what they do is they say, okay, I'll sell it back to you, and maybe they sell it for slightly more than they actually bought it for, you know. So they make a couple thousand on the deal, but they don't put anything in writing. And they say, oh yeah, when you pay me everything, you know, I'll give you the deed. And in the meantime, they go out and they borrow against the property. And so they're getting paid by the person they're selling it to because they still have title.
Wow.
And they're getting money on a loan. Usually it's from a hard money lender. And usually those loans have a balloon. They're called due in 6 months or a year. And there's no payments made. There's a higher interest rate. And so here they're getting actually paid twice. And it's awful because a lot of people are getting scammed. They've actually paid a lot of money for their property, or maybe everything they've had over a period of 6 months or a year.
So what is the recourse from the person buying without a contract?
Yeah, well, usually you cannot sue on those contracts because they violate the statute of frauds. And the statute of frauds says that any interest in real property that you purchase or that you lease, even for more than a year, any interest in real property needs to be in writing. It doesn't have to be a formal contract, however.
But
There
there
can
has to
be-
be something in writing.
Yeah, it can be on a napkin, it can be on different pieces of paper at different times. The property has to be identified, and the purchase price has to be able to be determined. In other words, it might say 2 times your salary. It doesn't have to say $50,000. Do you know what I'm
Okay, yeah,
saying?
right.
But there has to be certain parts of the contract that have to be in writing, and they have to be what they call signed by the party to be charged.
So, is this person who has been scammed, do they have any recourse at all? Seems like there should be something they could do.
Well, first of all, what the scammer has done is a crime. It's illegal.
Right.
So there's a criminal aspect to it, and if he's charged and convicted, he may have to pay restitution. That takes a long time, and a lot of times the guy ends up in jail. How's he going to pay restitution?
Right.
So that's not a great option, but that's how the law works. That's number one. Number two, if the person that's been scammed sues, they may qualify under an exception to the statute of frauds.
Okay. So there's a chance.
There's exceptions to the statute of frauds, and the whole reason for the exception is because when people get scammed, if they can qualify under something that allows the court, allows you to show some evidence to the court, then they can sometimes get a judgment in their favor.
Well, let's certainly hope so.
Yeah.
But also, well, even if they can sue, I'm sure it would be difficult to collect. And this just goes back to something that we've talked about before. Always get a good contract and review it with someone like you.
Right.
It's always a good idea to use an attorney, even if it's just to ask a few questions to make sure you don't overlook something. And we always say review that contract just to make sure it's all in place. But now I would say call Laura before you do anything.
If somebody approaches you, doesn't want to put it in writing, that's a big red flag.
Huge red flag. That we've learned from our time with you, certainly.
Yes.
So if this person had been listening to you beforehand, they may have avoided all this. But for anybody else out there, don't fall for it. And for that matter, don't fall for, it's not just a written contract. Make sure there's nothing in the contract that could be wrong.
Correct.
Call Laura first. Laura Bramnick, talkrealestateaz.com, 480-624-2705, 480-624-2705. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.